Math 122. So I've filled your inbox with videos about how to access the course, how to access the homework, how to access online tutoring. Now let's actually talk about math. For week 1, the homework is linear models, y equals mx plus b, in other words. So if you have found the homework in course documents on Blackboard, you'll see number 1 looks just like this. I'm not going to solve this exact problem because I'm not going to give you the exact answers for the homework, but what I will do is change the numbers so that you'll see a similar problem, you'll see the method, and then you'll apply it back to the homework. So my problems for 1A and B both give you the intercept, the slope, I give you a point, all that sort of thing, but the main thing that you got to understand is if we're dealing with lines, we're dealing with y equals mx plus b. That is our starting point for all the problems on this first week's homework. And what we need to do is plug numbers into that equation. What sort of numbers? Well, let's look at part A. We have a slope and an intercept. Slope is the number for the slope goes in for m. Why is m represent slope? These are questions I don't understand. Is whoever invented math came up with that association. All you got to know is slope is m. Period. That's it. Intercept is 8. Intercept goes in for b. Once again, another association that seems a little odd. Why is intercept represented by the letter b? It is what it is. That's your answer. You don't have to do anything else. We do not have an x and a y. Those are variables. Variables can change, so that's why we don't plug them in unless we have something specific. Okay, part B. Intercept is 7. Yeah, if you remember what I was just talking about, intercept is the b number right there. Intercept goes for 7. Okay. M is slope, like we saw in part A, but there's no slope given, so we got to do some tricky stuff. In this particular case, I give you the point, 2, 1. If you're familiar with points like that, the first number is an x, the second number is a y. The first number, 2, is an x. So what's that mean? It means take that 2 and put it in for where the x used to be. This looks a little odd. I have a m times 2. In math, typically, math people are going to write the number in front of the letter like this. So when I say plug the 2 in for x, that's what I did, and then I just rearranged stuff to get 2m plus 7. What is the very last step? Okay, I've got 2 letters in my equation. I need to solve something else. Well, remember what that 1 is in that red box. 1 stands for y. 2 is an x, 1 is a y, 1 is a y. I'll plug that in. And then I'll solve for m. Now, I'm just sort of listing out the steps. I'm not going to actually do them because I think everybody in the class should feel basic, should have a general understanding of these basic arithmetic. If that is something that you're a little shaky on, I've sent other videos about the online tutoring, or just send me an email and we can arrange something else. I'm not saying, hey, just deal with it. Online tutoring is a good resource we can offer. Next question, number 2 on the homework. This looks exactly how it looks on the on your homework, talking about, okay, 8 a.m., you got this many kids at the nurse, at noon, you got 18 children, and so forth. Let's change the numbers a little bit, but then you'll be able to see the process and apply it to your homework. Number 1, if I'm asking about independent and dependent variables, you need to know these definitions. Independent is, for our class, is always going to be time. If we're doing more scientific stuff, you might see some different sort of independent variables. Independent represents the time in a situation, and dependent represents what am I measuring. Look at the problem, and I think you can understand which is which in this case. Part B, hey, linear equation. Remember what I was saying before. You're always going to have y equals mx plus b. So now we got to figure out what goes where. Well, we don't have a slope in there. And we don't have an intercept necessarily, but what we do have is we have a starting value. The starting value is 7 children. And if you've read the lecture notes for this class, you'll see that the intercept, another way to interpret the intercept is the starting value. Read that story and you'll see that 7 children are at the start of the day. So that's why I plugged 7 in there. You've got to use a little reasoning because it doesn't say intercept, but the intercept represents that starting value. What else do we got to do? Well, if you remember that problem we just solved, I gave you an x and a y and we were able to plug them in and solve. Where's the x and y in this case? We got to use a little reasoning here. We say, okay, 11 o'clock, I have 19 kids. What does that represent? 3, 19. Wait, x is 3? How do we get that? Count ahead. Remember what I'm measuring in time. If I start at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 is 3 hours. That's where the 3 comes from. And 19 clearly because it comes from the 19 children. So I had to kind of pull that out of the words. I give you the words, you have to pull out the math, so to speak. What's our next step? Well, the 3 is the x, so look at it. It goes in for the x, and then we rearrange it like that. The 19 is the y, 19 goes in for y, and then you can solve for the m, just a basic arithmetic. Once again, I'm sort of waving my hands about that last step. if you have more questions, online tutoring. Check that other video, how to access. Send me an email if you have more questions. There will be another video coming probably tomorrow about how to solve numbers 3 and 4 on the homework.